Some slow news days for rock news last couple of days. But there's a little bit that came in, so let's go through it and see what it is, okay? Van Morrison turning 80 years old in August. And there's going to be a celebration on the stage. Van announced that on his birthday, August the 31st, he's going to headline a concert at Waterfront Hall in his hometown at Belfast, Ireland, which he's dubbing his 80th birthday celebration. Morrison is expected to be joined by very special guests at the concert, with the announcement boasting, "We're celebrating it in style." No word on who those guests will be. Tickets go on sale Friday, and the concert news comes as Morrison is getting ready to release a brand new album called Remember Now. That drops on June 13th. 14 new original tracks. The album, available for pre-order now, is Morrison's first album of all new material since back in 2022 when he released What's It Gonna Take? And apparently some recordings by Elton John, Chicago, and the Steve Miller Band have been chosen by the Library of Congress for preservation in the National Recording Registry. In total, 25 recordings have been chosen this year based on their cultural, historical, and aesthetic importance in the nation's recorded sound heritage. Those albums picked include Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Also, another one that we can never forget is Chicago's debut, The Transit Authority, and also Steve Miller Band's Fly Like an Eagle. These are the sounds of America, our wide-ranging history and culture. The National Recording Registry is our evolving nation's playlist, said Librarian of Congress Carla Hayden. She went on to say the Library of Congress is proud and honored to select these audio treasures worthy of preservation, including iconic music across a variety of genres, field recordings, sports history, and even the sounds of our daily lives with technology. The public can nominate recordings to be considered this year. And in fact, this year, the Library of Congress received 2,600 nominations, with Chicago Transit Authority being the top one. With the new additions, the National Recording Registry titles are now at 675, part of a recorded sound collection of close to 4 million items. Boy, that's a lot. And with it being April the 10th, let's look into some rock and roll history for this day. Back in 2005, the final episode of The Osbournes was aired on MTV in the UK. The show reached a peak audience of 8 million at its height during a 3-year run. Ozzy Osbourne was at a loss to explain its popularity, saying, "I suppose Americans get a kick out of watching a crazy Brit family like us make complete fools of ourselves every week." Also on this day in 1976, you guessed it, Peter Frampton went number 1 on the U.S. album chart with Frampton Comes Alive, one of the biggest selling live albums in rock history. It was the best-selling album of 1976, selling over 6 million copies in the United States alone. And Frampton Comes Alive was voted Album of the Year in 1976 by Rolling Stone readers in their poll, and it stayed on the chart for 97 weeks. On this day in 1970, 27-year-old Paul McCartney issues a press statement announcing that the Beatles had split up. Just 1 week before the release of his solo album, McCartney said, "I have no future plans to record or appear with the Beatles again or to write any music with John." John Lennon, who had kept his much earlier decision to leave the Beatles quiet for the sake of all the others, he was furious. When a reporter called Lennon to comment upon McCartney's resignation, Lennon said, "Paul hasn't left. I sacked him." That's a day I just don't like to think too much about. Still makes me sad. All these years ago, what a band to lose. And another former Beatle in 1962 on this day, their former bass player, Stuart Sutcliffe, passed away. He was the original bassist for 18 months, January 1960 through 61. Sutcliffe had stayed in Hamburg, Germany after leaving the band, and he ended up dying of a brain hemorrhage in an ambulance on the way to the hospital. He was only 22 years old. And that's your news update for Classic Rock. You can find these updates now on TikTok, YouTube, and the ClassX Radio Facebook page, as well as XGab and Truth Social. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow us. You can find us at ClassXRadio.com all day long. And, of course, you can also listen live all day long on our TuneIn channel, as well as our mobile application that you can find on your app store by searching ClassX Radio. We are Rock Radio for Boomers and Gen Xers, and, of course, you, my friend. We'll be back and do it again tomorrow right here on ClassX.